What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm out here in the shop again today. I'm working on the loader pins that I couldn't get grease in. I tried the IPA grease joint rejuvenator. I did a video on that, featured that product kind of, and it didn't work out real well for me. So there was a lot of good comments on that video, things to try. I was just trying the easiest thing first. I figured if I could pay $50 or $60 for that tool and it would take care of this problem in like 20 minutes, you know, I would be tickled to death. Didn't work out that way, so I'm having to do it the hard way. So I'm going to take you around here and show you what I got going on and what it's taken to correct the problem so that I can get grease in those joints. And I want to do a little update too on the problem I had with the tractor overheating when I was bush hogging. I did a little bit of bush hogging the other day, not a whole lot, maybe 30-45 minutes. I didn't bother filming it. It was in an area that was basically a sand pit, and it was so dusty. It just wouldn't have worked good for a camera to be in, and it wouldn't have made good film quality because you couldn't see with all the dust flying around, and it was even hard for me to see. So I didn't bother filming that, but I did not notice any overheating issues until right there at the end. The radiator screens up here on the front of the tractor had got covered with debris and grass. And it wasn't getting all the way hot, but it was getting, I could tell the temperature was rising. I knocked the grass off, and the temperature went back down. So all that cleaning the radiator and all that stuff that was all clogged up did cure that problem. But anyway, right now what I'm working on is this pin here that I couldn't get grease to go in, one of the pins. And I got the loader raised up here, so I want to do this one here and show a little bit more about it. It was a little easier to get to and be easier to video this. But I took the grease alamite out of the end of it. As you can see here, this one's got a grease fitting. It's the same thing. It threads in the end here. It's a little bit difficult because it's recessed to keep them getting broke off. It's a little bit difficult to get it started back in there. But the hole in this pin goes all the way to the middle right here. And I tried this without taking it apart, and I'm going to show you what I tried. I took some brake clean right here, stuck this tube all the way up in there like that, and sprayed and let it sit, sprayed and let it sit. Then put the grease element back in there and tighten it up, put grease gun pressure on it till the grease gun stopped, which is about 10,000 psi. Still did not get anything to come out. Put it back out, did it again, still didn't have any luck. I got a TIG rod over here on the shelf that I was using as well to stick down in there. This is a TIG rod here. You could use a piece of solid electrical wire too if you had some the right size, but I think this is I don't know if this is a 3/32. I don't remember what it is. Anyways, run that down in there and you can see the bottom right here. So that goes right there to that ring that you see. And I've got it wasn't really clogged up in here too much, but the problem is right here, see where all that rust is at? My camera is wanting to be retarded. But you see where all the rust is at right here? Around this ring, there's a hole there somewhere that goes out in here that grease is supposed to come out into. So I'm not exactly sure where the hole is at, but that's what we're about to find out. I'm going to go over here and get a pick and set this camera up, and we're going to pick around here. Probably could use this, but it's 3 foot long, so I'm going to get a pick. And set the camera up. We're going to dig around there and see if we can get this cleaned out so that when we get grease to go in here and grease this up, and I'll just have to repeat the process on the other pins. Alright, so hopefully you can see what's going on right there. I'm going to take this pick, scribe, whatever you want to call it, and go around here to see if I can find the hole in this groove that's supposed to be there. So far, I have not. Oh, I think I found it right there in the top. And that junk is clogged in there. You can tell the metal noise, and then you can hear the soft point right there. You can see where it's trying to go in. It's clogged up in there pretty good. And that's what I'm running into. You know, it would have been great if that tool would have worked, you know, and kind of forced some of that stuff out. It's just not the case. So, this is what it's going to take to get it done. This one here is not that bad, I don't think, because as far as doing it, because I didn't have to pull this pin all the way out, Just had to pull it out about halfway to get to it. I don't know how the other ones are going to go. The one up there on the loader is probably going to be a little bit more difficult to deal with. Not as easy a spot. Yeah, that stuff is clogged up in there now. Just digging it out with that pick, keep rolling that pick around. Making some headway there now. I think it might have went through. Yep. So hopefully you can see what's going on there. Let me shoot some another direction there. So the way the grease goes in is through here. It comes out that hole right there. That's the idea. And so it was free all the way here, but from here to the center of this pin was not free. That's where the clog was. You just seen I dug it out right there. So I'm gonna put I'm gonna knock the pin back in, and then we'll put the grease Alamite back in, then we'll get some grease in there. Hopefully this won't be too big of a deal. Get that line back up over here on this side now. I may have to let the loader down. Nope, got lucky just leaning on it, pushed on it. Got it on there. Put the clip back on the inside, hold the pin in. So this is a little trick that I was talking about to get the Alamite to go back in the end of the pin, because it's recessed in there. If I put this in my socket, the socket is too deep. It's a shallow well socket, but the Alamite goes all the way in there, if you can see that, flush, so that that's not going to start in there, and you can't really get your fingers in it either. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these needle nose pliers I have here, start it this way. If I can get it done without cross-threading it. Yeah, there we go. We got it started. Now we can take our socket and ratchet, tighten it up. So got grease now. You guys can see right there where it's coming out. A little more on that side than this side, but I think it pretty well filled it up. By the time I move it, tilt it back and forth and let it work in and grease it again, it'll get greased around there good. Now I've got to do this one right here still. It's going to be kind of the same deal. Be a little bit more tricky, I believe, than that one, because there's more weight up here. And then there's one on the other side. I'm not sure which one it was. I'll have to go back and find it. I really do not remember it all. Guys, I think we might get lucky on this one here and not have to remove the pin. I'm not 100% sure yet. But I removed the grease Alamite. I can see where it's clogged up right there. I'm going to get that pick and try to dig in there. And the Alamite itself is also clogged up. And I've got it over here on the grease gun right here. And I cannot get grease to come out of it. I got pressure on it there right now. And I'll show you that. As you see, nothing. So I may have to go get a grease Alamite because I don't think I have any handy. I'll try to clean this one out a little bit first. But if not, I'll have to go pick up one. And I'm going to take this pick, wherever I did with it over here, and dig the grease out of this right here, hopefully. rust in there. It ain't really grease, it's just rust. I'm kind of thinking that joint might take grease after I get the Alamite fixed. So that one may be even easier than I was expecting. A little brake clean in there. Then I'm going to work on with this Alamite here for just a minute. So it appears that the Alamite right here is clogged up with old grease and stuff. And I'm trying to dig it out because I don't have an Alamite handy. I had an Alamite handy, just throw Alamite in it, but I don't have one, so. Put a little brake clean on that and dig some more. You can see the junk coming out of there. That's what happens when you don't grease your equipment regularly or ever. The grease gets clogged up, it gets mad, gets clogged up, and then you can't grease it. Alright, we'll try that back on the grease gun and see what happens. Alright, so I went and looked for another grease Alamite. I could not find one, the right thread. I come up with a couple, but they were the wrong thread. So I kept digging on this one here with the pick and putting brake cleaner on it, kept digging on it, and I got it somewhat cleaned out. Still a little bit restrictive, I think, but it's flowing grease. So I think we're going to go with that, and we'll thread this back in there and see if we can get some grease in that joint now. I dug with a pick down in there to the pin as far as I could as well, so we'll see how this goes. Alright guys, moment of truth. Hey, taking grease. That thing ain't been greased in a while. Alright guys, so oddly enough, it's the same pin on the opposite side of the tractor here on the top of the loader pivot point. And I'll try to get you down in here. There's not hoses on this side, so you can see a little bit better about where the Alamite goes in. And this is the joint on this side. I knew there was 3 of them. So we did the 2 on the other side. This is the 3rd one here on the opposite side. We're going to pull this Alamite out and see if it's just Alamite or if it's stopped up in here. Hopefully it's just Alamite, and we can dig it out like I did the other side, and we can get some grease in this joint. Alright guys, it's in both of them. You can see gunk right there built up, and the Alamite as well. I think that's at the pin right there. I think most of it's going to be in our Alamite, because I can see the pin right there. So this is your Alamite right here. You can see his clog slam up. I wish I had one. I'd slap another one in there real quick, but I don't. So I'm going to dig this one out as well. This grease is really caked in here. You would not think that it would get caked in there like it does. I mean, you can't hardly dig that. It's so caked in there. Anyway, this is probably going to take 10 or 15 minutes, so I'm going to cut the camera off and I'll come back with you whenever I get this unclogged here. Alright guys, I've got the grease Alamite and the end of the locking lube here. You could not do this if you didn't have a locking lube or some kind of locking grease fitting, but because I got a locking lube, this is locking lube XL, the extended length, because it works good on semi-truck U-joints and whatnot and hard to reach places. But I got the Alamite cleaned out here. It's flowing pretty good, and put it on high. think it'll work. So I'm going to put the Alamite back in there and see if we can get this joint to take some grease now. She's full. Alright guys, so that's a wrap for this video. That was not quite as difficult as I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to have to take these two upper pins out, but it turns out that most of the problem was in the Alamite itself and not in the joint. And on the other deal, I knew the Alamite was free, but it was in the pin. Turns out that was not that big a deal because there's not much weight out there. And I knocked that pin halfway out, got the thing unclogged, got the pin to go back in pretty easily. It took a couple of hours to do this and, you know, moving the camera around and stuff. You know, I was kind of hoping for a 20-minute quick fix with that tool when I bought it. And I just figured it'd make things easier if it worked. That's the reason I paid what I did for it. I figured, you know, if it put a little oil in it and tap on it, and if the oil would work through there and get that grease unclogged and save me a couple of hours or whatever, how long it was going to take. I figured it was going to take a lot longer, really. I figured it'd be a half a day ordeal if I had to pull them pins out and go through all that trouble. But anyway, got it going nonetheless, so I can keep grease in it and keep further wear from occurring. It does have a decent amount of slack in some of that stuff out there because the previous owner didn't grease it, but that's what you get when you buy an older tractor that somebody didn't grease. But anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video.